Welcome back to the next video in the Ark Nova video tutorial series. I'm Adam Horton, and this video is going to be about map-specific things. The first thing I want to say that applies to all maps, but is specific to maps in general, is it's usually a good idea to try and set aside an area of this shape that has access to both rock and water. That's because it fits any size standard enclosure. It also fits the aviary or the reptile house, and you can have it next to rock or water. So as you're building your map, it's kind of a nice thing to do to set aside an area of this shape, maybe multiple of them, so that if you have a big animal, or really any animal that you can play, you can build an enclosure for it, and it's not going to be an issue. All right, now let's talk about observation tower. The first thing I'm going to say is probably obvious to most people, but not to everyone. You want to build next to your tower early. You want to get those appeal early so that that appeal can be making you income over the course of the game. So build next to the tower early. I'm also going to say that release projects are better than normal because you build the standard enclosure next to the tower, you get the 2 tickets, then you release an animal, you free up an enclosure next to the tower, and you can put something else in it, and you can double dip on that tower bonus. You can also do this kind of thing with reptiles and aviary birds. You can play them in a standard enclosure next to the tower, and then you build the reptile house or the aviary. You get to free up that enclosure by moving the animal over to the special enclosure, and now you have a standard enclosure next to the tower that you can put something else in. The marketing income, the play a sponsor for money income spot, it's pretty narrow. The main use is, if you really need to trigger breaks all the time because you're down in income, this allows you to still play some sponsors. Just make sure you have a lot of sponsors, especially sponsors that you can hold between breaks. I frequently find myself running out and really only playing one sponsor card with this, which feels kind of bad. Snapping income can also help a lot here. Gives you access to more cards that you can play during the break. On the old version of Observation Tower, just keep in mind that all your rock spaces are near the tower. So if you ever want to play something later on in the game that needs to be next to rock, you're going to have to leave some rock spaces open, so don't go covering them all up. Outdoor areas, not really much to say about this map, other than the fact that you would really prefer to take a university in the first break. 2 reasons. First, there's a placement bonus for a partner zoo. You're going to be getting that soon. And then also, you get 2 CP for your 3rd university. So it's kind of nice to start with a uni here. Silver Lake should be obvious, but it's not obvious to everyone. You should use the map bonus that gives you an extra action in the end of the game for all of the same reasons that you would play an eagle late in the game. But also make sure that you are still able to do a project late in the game so you can actually use it. It can sometimes be worth saving a project that maybe you could do now or could do later to do later so that you can get value out of this bonus. All right, next up is Commercial Harbor. This is the one where you can sell your cards for $3 once you connect. I find myself taking non-upgraded cards at strength 4 a lot of the time, and that's because you care more about the quantity of cards than the quality. Also, the snapping income is better than normal because in addition to everything it does, if you just hate a card from your opponent to deny it to them, you can always just sell it for $3, and more cards is great. Size 2 income is also better than normal, and this is because you can cover that multiplier spot during the last break of the game, set your end game up around this so you don't have to take a build action to cover it up to get value out of that multiplier. It kind of gives you an extra action in a lot of cases during the last break of the game when it means a lot. You almost always want to start close to the harbor and connect to that harbor as soon as possible. And then one final thing, the card Archaeologist is really, really good on this map because you can just get multipliers throughout the entire game, and that's just crazy. Park Restaurant. You usually want to start towards the top so you can get the restaurant spaces covered as soon as possible. They give you income. Sponsors that give you buildings to place on your map are better than normal because they help you do this early. And I also want to mention that on the new version of Park Restaurant, this is by far the easiest map for skipping your upgraded build action. There are just spots on the map that are kind of obvious to place the reptile house or the large bird aviary that you can get from your map bonus. You also have that extra income to help you, which makes up for not being able to build kiosks and pavilions quite as easily because you didn't upgrade build. Research Institute. This is the one where you can connect to a spot and then ignore an animal requirement. Look out for early high rolls, animals that you're kind of not supposed to be able to play early, but you can because you can ignore a requirement. New Zealand fur seal comes to mind. Also, giant panda for any point in the game has 3 really kind of disparate requirements. So being able to ignore like one of them is super great. And if you can play giant panda, it's a great card. You would prefer to start with a partner zoo. That's because you have a spot on your map that gives you a university. You're going to be getting that a lot easier, so partner zoo start is usually pretty good. There's also something with the card spokesperson on this map. There is a line that, given enough time, you can get 8 reputation in the first break with almost no other support. You build over the reputation spot, you take the university that gives you 2 reputation, you play spokesperson. That's 5 reputation. You upgrade build. You build over to cover the spot that gives you a university. Take the university that gives you 2 science. Upgrade animals, and now you're up to 7 reputation. Take animals on 5 for your 8th reputation, and all you need is something you can play in one of these enclosures. That takes a lot of time to do. And then you got to spend your worker after all of that. So a competent opponent won't give you the time to do that in the first break. So if you see your opponent playing spokesperson and trying to do this, don't give them the time to do that. Next up is ice cream parlors. Another thing that might be obvious, but may not be obvious to everyone. You want to cover those 3 kiosk spots as soon as possible. They give you income. You want that to happen as many times over the game as possible. You want to cover them early. Money's great. Get the size 2 enclosure income. It can help a lot with this. If you cover the last one during the break, you still get almost all of the benefits of doing it. So that's a good little tactic. And also, sponsors that give you buildings can help you cover all of these spots. The cards Geologist and Native Village are very good because there's a large number of rock spaces and there's a ton of spots next to rock. Geologist can just give you a ton of money. Something I've found is that you end up filling up your map just kind of naturally. So the naturalist stuff that wants you to have open spaces is worse than normal, and filling your map is just very easy. So, 7 tickets is great, but also all the stuff that rewards you for that is better than normal. On the old version of the map, your water spaces are all on one side of the board. Don't go covering them all because there's not many of them, and if you want to play an animal that needs water, don't leave yourself without the ability to do that. Next up is Hollywood Hills. On Hollywood Hills, you really want to start with a university, and in particular, hand-sized university. And it wasn't obvious, but here's why. On this map, it's almost mandatory that you have to upgrade sponsors. Upgrading sponsors is crazy on this map because of the discount. You can so easily play more than 1, sometimes even 3 sponsors in a turn. But that only really works if you upgrade sponsors, and it's just so good to do on this map. And for that reason, you're going to find yourself skipping the association upgrade a lot. That means you're only getting 2 partner zoos, and you can get a partner zoo from the map bonus, so it's very easy to get partner zoos. You don't really want to be getting one in the first break because you would rather get a university. And also, having hand-sized university early gives you the flexibility to aim towards covering those H spots and then not have to discard sponsor cards that you can't play because, there was a break and you didn't get to play them. So hand-sized university is quite good in the first break here. Native lizards is very good because there's a large number of rock spaces that are close to each other, so it's easy to connect them. But also that means be kind of intentional about your rock spaces. It's very easy to cover them up because you want to cover your H's, and then whoops, I don't have many rock spaces available. So leave that open. The new version of the map really helps with that. Next up is Geographical Zoo. With the continent bonuses, I take to appeal with a lot of them. Early in the game, a kiosk can be pretty good. Pavilions, if you put them next to kiosks you have, can be a nice little mix of points and income if you feel like that's appropriate. Also, reputation is a solid choice. Helps you hit those 5 and 8 breakpoints. So those are the 3 that I take the most common. And the 2 appeal tends to be what I take a lot more often than other things. The cards Hydrologists and Native Seabirds are really good. There's a ton of spaces next to water. There's a lot of water spaces. So Hydrologist is great, and Native Seabird, it's pretty easy to connect a pretty high number of them. The rocks on this map are really awful. They're bunched up in the corners, out of the way. They're just a big pain. So try not to cover them up if you can help it, because if you're going to need to use a lot of them if you have any significant number of animals that need rocks. And finally, we're going to talk about Rescue Station. This is the one that allows you to do the special digging on cards and they count as being in your zoo. This map is good because you can cheese conservation projects early and often. You can most of the time back a project in the first break because you can dig animals with relevant tags that you can't really play. If you're not doing this with Rescue Station, you're missing out on a lot of the value of the map, but it's pretty busted. There's one little trick you can do. If you use the special digging on an herbivore, that herbivore counts as in your zoo. So other herbivores you play that are flocking herbivores can flock with that herbivore. You don't even need an enclosure in your map. You can build a pavilion over that spot. You can dig a large herbivore and you can just flock herbivores with it. You play animals and you don't have any enclosures in your zoo. It's a nice little trick if you find any flocking herbivores, so take advantage of it if you can. All right, that's all I have to say about map specific stuff. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.